All right. Hello, everybody. This is Suzanne Hacker, your vacation rental business coach, and I am here today with Arthur from StayFi. Arthur, if you could just introduce yourself a little bit and tell everyone what is StayFi and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name's Arthur Colker, founder and CEO of StayFi. Founded StayFi in around the end of 2018 with the mission of helping build vibrant independent vacation rental brands using data. So the core of StayFi is to help our customers engage with their guests and drive more repeat bookings to their listings. And the way we do that is through a common technology everyone's used before, and that's Wi-Fi splash pages. So I'm sure you've been to a Starbucks, a hotel, airport, where when you logged on the Wi-Fi, you had to go through a branded page where you entered in your email and name and other information. We're the first company to introduce that technology into vacation rentals, so you can collect data not just from the booker, but everybody staying in your property. And then we help folks re-engage those guests with email, text, and other forms of marketing to drive more bookings through your own website and not through a listing site like Airbnb or VRBO.
Yeah, I mean, I thought your concept was brilliant when, I came across it when I started to do my own research on email marketing. And it was like, well, hello, it's just like what the hotels do. And you're right, Starbucks or any of those other, if you want to get on their Wi-Fi, you have to give them your email address. And it's as simple as that. So I thought it was brilliant. So then I was like, oh, I got to learn more about this StayFi. So what drew you to the vacation rental industry space in the first place?
Yeah, so my background's in digital marketing and branding, and I worked in a variety of different industries. But I had started my own consulting firm doing digital marketing, and one of my classmates from business school happened to operate an 150 property short-term rental company called Heirloom. And they were basically 100% Airbnb bookings when they engaged with me and said, we know we need to start diversifying our sources of demand, and we want to have our own brand direct booking website and drive more traffic to it. And so I said, well, the lowest hanging fruit when you're building out a direct book strategy is your existing guest data. People that have stayed with you before trust you, know that you're providing high quality accommodations. They're the most likely to rebook with you. It's a lot harder to go out and fish for new guests that haven't experienced your properties before. And they said, well, the one problem is we have no data because Airbnb doesn't give us guest emails, right? And obviously they don't want to because it's not in their best interest to. So I said, well, how are we going to start collecting this? And that's really kind of where the whole idea for StayFi started is, we just said, like, why don't we just do the captive portal that hotels do? Because we wanted to collect emails in a way that didn't disrupt the guest experience. And we wanted to integrate it into something that everybody's already naturally doing in the short-term rental, which is getting on the Wi-Fi. So not forcing people to go through an extra portal or forcing people to go through a tablet that will get low usage in the property. What's something everyone's already doing in their journey, and then just inserting a really easy place to collect that data. I went out and tried to buy a product that existed in the market, of which there are many great companies that specialize in cafes, hotels, and their systems just didn't work in homes for a variety of reasons. So I said, well, I probably could build this myself. Pretty savvy. And so I built kind of the most basic version of the tool. We would call that an MVP, minimally viable product, to bring to market. So I built the MVP for Heirloom, and then I validated that other short-term rental companies also had this need to collect data, drive direct bookings, and become less dependent on OTAs for a variety of reasons, online travel agencies like Airbnb and Vrbo. And that's really kind of how the whole StayFi journey started, was with Heirloom and then branching out to other businesses.
Okay, awesome. Does Heirloom still exist? Going strong?
Exist. They're bigger than
Nice.
ever. They're in
Sure.
way more markets now and have way more properties. So they're doing very well.
Nice. Awesome. So I also, I listened to another podcast that you had done to kind of do some research. And one of your comments was about the mindset of an Airbnb host versus a business owner and kind of changing that mindset, which lines up perfectly what I'm trying to do. But can you just tell us more of your thoughts on that, please?
Yeah. So we've worked with a lot of, I would call them Airbnb people who started as Airbnb hosts, because Airbnb really just lowered the barriers of entry to starting a short-term rental business, right? Very relatively low cost of capital. You could manage other people's properties, right? So anyone could really do it. So a lot of new people started rental businesses, and we kind of see the same evolution through our customers. They start with maybe their own listing, then they
Yeah.
decide, their friend down the street's like, can you manage my property? And they go manage theirs. It's another management company. And then at some point, they realize I need to go out and purchase property management software, a PMS, which will help me manage pricing and my bookings. And then, oh wait, there's a great feature that's a channel manager. So now I can list on Airbnb, Vrbo, and Booking.com. And then we kind of see in there, oh, there's an ability to launch a white labeled website, and suddenly we have our own brand, and now we're our own business, and we're not just an Airbnb operator. And that's just kind of the natural journey we see a lot of our customers go through as they build. As maybe they started as one thing, but their business is evolving into something bigger and a lot more interesting, I think, which is
Sure.
their own independent brand, and then using a bunch of channels to drive demand. So that's kind of the common journey people go through. And at a certain point, then you want to optimize your business, or you want to become more profitable, and you realize you're giving a lot of control away, and you're giving a lot of money away to those big booking platforms, which can be 10-15% of the booking revenue. And when you start managing properties and you don't own them, those margins become really important. So building your own brand becomes central to becoming a successful long-term business, because you don't know what a booking channel might do in the future. Airbnb could change their algorithm. Vrbo could change their algorithm. Your properties could go lower in the list. Your properties could go higher in the list. They could change their cancellation policy. You just have little or no control over the future of your business if a vast majority of your bookings are coming from one source. And so we really want to push people to diversify demand, listing on all the sites, as well as start driving more brand awareness and direct bookings to your own website, so you really have good control over the guests that are coming to your property.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of people started to see that this year when Airbnb made some big changes on their platforms. And a lot of the owners were like, wait, my bookings, like, where'd they go? I'm not getting any anymore. So, it seemed to really become more apparent this year, especially early this summer when that changed. So going back to that, what you were saying, if you were, let's say, a brand new vacation rental owner who knew you wanted to purchase more properties and expand, what would be your first step? Would you first list on Airbnb or VRBO, or would your first step be to set up social media and a direct booking website instead?
I think property management software is the big first step that you take to go from maybe a hobbyist. It's kind of pejorative if you're just doing your own property. But that's kind of what a lot of people look at themselves like, right? They're doing some on the side. If you're moving into having a real business with multiple properties, a PMS, property management software, is the first step, because that will have a channel manager help you list everywhere with pricing, consistency, and occupancy. And there are many good ones for, I would say, sub 10 property operators.
Sure.
So Uplisting, Owner Res, Hostfully, Lodgify. I mean, there's so many in the market. We don't recommend one or two. That we encourage people to go look and find the best one for them. And then we see evolution. There's some more enterprise focused software out there for people with 200 plus listings, right? But there's kind of different software for different segments. And that's really the first step, because all of those tools have the ability to have your own white labeled website, so you can accept direct bookings. And that's kind of the core piece of software everyone builds their business around. And then you start tacking on those ancillary pieces, whether it's pricing software, a tool like StayFi to help collect and drive more repeat bookings. Bolting on to your central PMS software is really kind of what people do, as they kind of build the unique mix of tools they're going to have to operate their business. And that's really what makes operators differentiated, is kind of what are the tools you're going to assemble to operate your vacation rental business as efficiently and profitable as possible.
Sure. Yeah, that makes complete sense. So if you were giving advice to a new owner, what would be your best piece of advice, other than start with property management software? What would be your best piece of advice for a new owner?
Yeah, I would say understand kind of what your special sauce or brand angle is going to be. So if we just go back to the branding piece, kind of like what's your angle for both owners, if you're going to plan to manage on behalf of other people, like what's the offering you're going to offer homeowners about why they should use you to manage their property, and then kind of like what's your unique selling proposition to guests, whether it's theming. Like we have a lot of really successful customers that theme their homes in a consistent way, because that's kind of like a differentiator on the booking platforms to help drive demand, or offering a certain consistent standard of cleanliness, customer service, whatever it happens to be. Just understand what makes your brand differentiated and unique for both owners, if you're managing, as well as guests, and start collecting data early on, because your proprietary guest list is what's going to make your business sustainable. So if you would just imagine you've been operating for 5 years, if you have 50,000 guest records of people that love staying with you versus you have nothing because you just use Airbnb,
Sure.
you have a huge advantage both driving demand and new homeowners to your program, because you have a robust direct booking program that you can offer to potential homeowners, as well as a reason why they should choose you as a management company as opposed to someone who's just using OTAs.
Sure. Yeah, that's some great advice. Thank you for that. So how many not necessarily users, but do you know how many access points? And maybe I should have you explain a little bit more of how somebody gets set up and how it actually works in the vacation rentals real quick. But do you know like how many of those are out in the world already today from StayFi?
Yeah, we have almost 10,000 now. So we have
Awesome.
10,000 properties using StayFi. 90% in the US, but we can be used in other countries. So we have people in Europe or Australia, Mexico, Latin America. So you can use our service anywhere in the world. And just to go back to kind of like what is StayFi and how does it work? So anyone can come to our website, sign up, create an account. And then you order a device from us called an access point. And the access point broadcasts a guest network in your property that when you join presents the captive portal that you build in our online tool. And most people will leave their existing networks running. So if you already have a Wi-Fi network that your TVs and door locks or thermostats are on, that can stay running. When you plug the device in that we ship to you, it will broadcast brand, guest network, whatever you name it. You change your guest instructions to join this network, and that's what guests use to get onto the Wi-Fi. And then when they join it, the captive page loads. They have to agree to not use the internet illegally and other important things as well. They have the option to provide their name and email. And then once they submit their information, they're logged into the internet for 30 days, so they don't have to do it multiple times on the same device. And that way we're collecting around 80 to 90% of guests' emails. So if you have 10 guests staying in a property, we would expect 8 to 9 emails over the course of the stay, which really can just grow your email marketing lists exponentially, because you're not just going after one email per stay as you may have been doing before.
Right. You actually answered one of my questions too, as far as the, leaving the existing network kind of there running in the background for all those additional things that homeowners have, and then setting up a new one. So thank you. And I've set up my own splash page on StayFi, and it's super easy, so if anyone's like, I'm not techie enough to be able to do that, it's like, no, I think you've done it in a way that anybody can use, and able to brand that themselves to put whatever, whether it's a logo or property picture or whatever. So, I thought it was fabulous and what I've done so far. So, what are the other ancillary products or things that you are also now starting to get into in addition to this under StayFi?
Yeah, so I mean, the obvious first one was you're collecting guest information. Now, what do you do with it? And initially, we just integrated with standard email marketing tools that people use, like MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, Constant Contact, Active Campaign, Keep. There's a whole plethora that you can connect through StayFi, so all your data flows there automatically. But that doesn't give us a lot of insight to whether customers are using the data effectively, because it's all happening off platform. So we wanted to build our own email marketing tool, which we launched a few months ago, and we actually built it in partnership with an email marketing agency in the vacation rental space called Switchback. which really gives users two options. They can either self-service, so build the templates themselves, set up automations, which is really what we emphasize. So the idea is guest logs into Wi-Fi, and that will trigger a series of emails automatically sent from the email software. So you don't have to be creating new content all the time. You just have a pre-baked series of like 10 emails that get sent to everyone over 6 months. So you can self-service, or you can hire Switchback to help you one time or help you forever. So you can have an onboarding call with them for a few $100s where they make a template for you and show you how to use the software, or you can have them manage your campaigns on an ongoing basis, or you can do it yourself. So we give all the options, just depending on how much help you need getting started. And then we also have a text marketing tool, which is one-way text message marketing, which can do a bunch of cool things like send a text to the guest after they log in with links to your website or your property guidebook, ask the guest to review you, which pushes 5-star reviews to Google, Facebook, or your own website, as well as just sending all your previous guests texts, whenever you have a promotion or you have a new property launch or an announcement, because text message marketing has like 98+% open read rate. So you can really amplify any marketing you're doing with text marketing so you can reach as many of your past guests as possible. And so those are kind of like the core marketing features that have been bolted on. And then outside of that, we have some cool Wi-Fi stuff because we're a Wi-Fi tool. So we have occupancy alerting, which counts unique guests in the property and then will alert you if you have too many guests there, as well as, internet going down. We can alert you to that as well. So we're really just building more features that are unique for this vertical, short-term rentals, which is totally where we're focused because we're not doing cafes or hotels or other types of businesses that aren't short-term rentals.
Sure. Awesome. So I know you mentioned you have quite a few users and access points and everything out there already. So do you have like a goal of where you want to see your company grow to in the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty aggressively marketing right now to expand our reach. And we are focused on operators of all sizes. So because it's self-service, if you have one property and you just want to collect emails there and have a better Wi-Fi experience, we're a great fit. And if you have 500, we have users of that size using the product as well. So we really can meet anybody where they're at in terms of their journey and growing their business. And so for us, we're like, I would say so far this year, we've more than doubled in size. So, we definitely want to get to, 12, 15,000 homes by the end of the year, and then hopefully continue to grow next year. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like right now, we're about to hit 1 million people having logged in through StayFi. So that's 1 million emails for all of our users spread across all of them. So that's a lot more folks being educated about booking direct. And we hope that, by using StayFi, not only are you educating your users or your guests about why booking direct is good, hopefully those guests leave knowing that booking direct in general is better, and will search out more rental brands to book direct with no matter what destination they're traveling to.
Sure. Now going back to Heirloom, who was like your first in this space. So a property management company similar to that, like that say has a couple hundred homes or unit spaces or whatever that they manage, they have just one brand, one splash page, or do they do different splash pages for the different properties?
Yeah, so you can have as many different splash pages as you want. And a brand like that, they may not go to the level of unique per property, but they will have one per market. So they have like a Savannah, New Orleans, Scottsdale, Nashville, Nantucket. They have these are all the different markets. They have different splash pages by market. And then the way that the data flows into the email tool is those are additional custom fields for market and property associated with each guest. So they can segment campaigns by market, depending on where guests stayed, or even by property, because all that data is being collected and being sent into the email marketing tool. And so they went from 0% direct booking when we started, and I think they're well over like 30% today, which you can imagine is millions and millions of dollars of revenue when you're that size. Which if you're sending an OTA 10 or 15%, that's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars you can save over the lifetime or in a year versus having all your bookings come from a OTA.
Right. Yeah, that's brilliant. So what is one question that you wish I would have asked you today?
Oh, yeah, I would say the big thing is upsells and ancillary revenue. There are a ton of products in the market today, which I highly encourage people to look at, whether it's Mount, which is like in-home rentals, Minoan, Showplace. There's a bunch of new ones now, which help you sell additional services or products, as well as some of the really kind of more, I'd say, fancy digital like property guidebooks, whether they're from Links or TouchStay or Hostfully, also let people like purchase extending the stays, right? And so one of the most powerful things we can do in StayFi is redirect guests to any URL you want after they log into the Wi-Fi,
Right.
as well as send those links for the unique property guidebooks to the guest in text and email, which means that if you have an upsell program or a extend the stay program or a rebook program through one of these tools that you're paying for, you can go from driving one person maybe to the booker,
Sure.
to driving the entire reservation to your upsell platform, whatever it is that you use. And so we see, if you think about StayFi as in-home guest engagement and whole party guest engagement, any program that you're operating that can drive you additional incremental revenue, you can then advertise that to the entire guest party, not just the booker. And that's definitely the most powerful way to increase incremental per stay revenue, which has much higher margins than perhaps the original booking. And we see, I think, some of the most profitable rental businesses in the space that you may have heard of that are not publicly traded. They're driving huge amounts of revenue from upsells and ancillary services because they're the most profitable, low-cost things they're offering in the property, as opposed to maybe just the booking reservation where 80% of the revenue is going to the owner, right? So
Right.
that's an area where people can drive a lot of, really up the profitability without having to incur a lot of higher variable costs.
Yeah, I sit here and I go, I wonder how many owners have even started to take advantage of the upselling or, the additional stay, things like that you're even mentioning. I would be really curious to learn what that percentage is of owners out there that are doing that or not. It would be
It's probably
interesting.
not very high because I would say
Right.
most of there's been kind of in the last like 6 months, like 3 or 4 of these companies that have launched
Yeah.
with considerable amount of VC backing, whether they're helping sell kind of like not a mini bar, but like you have a bunch of like you have a kayak and you have like sunscreen and towels or whatever, and you can like sell or rent those products through the platform, or you're getting, you're featuring brand products that brands are sending, and then guests are purchasing those and you're getting some affiliate fee, or
Yeah.
some really cool ones like Key, which is a way to connect guests to local like concierge services, whether they're like private chefs or tours and things like that. So just so many interesting, cool tools out there to help not only improve the guest stay, but to help you get more incremental revenue over the course of the stay.
Yeah, to me, it's been really interesting. And it's almost like the pandemic kind of spurred some of this new activity or these new opportunities, if you will, for hosts to take advantage of that they just weren't really out there before. So it seems like, while on the one hand, it's becoming more touch free, it's also becoming more of a concierge or more of digital touches, maybe you could say. I don't know if that's how you would describe it, but that's
Yes,
just what I see.
scalable touching doesn't sound so great, but using, it's like frictionless commerce, right? Like, especially, as your business grows, you can't, you don't want people calling you all times of the night, right? And so there's all sorts
Right.
of cool, like the Extent team is an awesome company which does like offshore guest support
Sure.
at a certain size, which may become very attractive to a business if you don't want people, bothering you all the time.
Yeah.
So I think you're totally right that, people view vacation rental space exploded, still growing. And a lot of people want to come in and help professionalize the space through software and tools because, things that hotels have been doing for 20 years, people are just, whether that's revenue management or guest marketing or loyalty programs, they're all kind of starting today or recently in the short-term space.
Sure. Yeah. It was more like it was kind of monopolized for a little while. And then everyone's like, nope, let's do this a little bit differently. So, I appreciate that. Well, I so much appreciate your time today, Arthur. It's been great chatting with you and learning from you. And I'm sure that other people, are going to feel the same when they watch this, and we'll probably have some additional questions for you as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm with Arthur with StayFi, and we had a couple of follow-up questions I wanted to ask. Arthur, if you could just explain to everyone how the pricing works with your product.
Yeah, of course. So to get started with StayFi, there's just two things you need to know about pricing. The first is after creating an account, you'll need to order an access point or access points for your properties. These are the devices that plug into your router and broadcast your new guest Wi-Fi network that has a splash page. In our StayFi store, we have 4 different devices that we sell, ranging from $125 to $205. In the store, there's a recommendation based on the size of the property, which access point to buy. So the more expensive models are for larger homes, and then the less expensive one is for, like a condo or small property. And in there, you'll see the guide of what the best device is for your property. There is also a monthly subscription, which we only charge once you actually activate and start using it. So if you order the device and don't get around to installing it, don't worry, you're not going to get charged. Once you activate it, it starts a monthly subscription. That will just depend on how many access points you have in your account. So if you have 1 access point, it's $8 a month. Once you have 2, it goes to $7 a month per access points. If you had 2, it'd be 14. If you had 10, it goes to 6. So it would be 10 times 6, which is 60 a month. And then we have further price breaks as you add more and more access points to your account, the per unit cost goes down.
That's awesome. I also noticed in your access points, you have one that's like an interior exterior. Can you explain that one just a little bit to me?
Yeah, so the 3 of the devices which we sell primarily are like light, pro, and long range, and those are all meant to be placed inside. We also have one access point called the Wi-Fi 6 Mesh AP, which can be installed outside. So the way that works is if you wanted to add let's say a Wi-Fi extender outside, like maybe by a pool area, that can be mounted on the exterior of a house. You'll still need power, so it plugs into power and can mesh wirelessly with the interior access point. We definitely see people install those in, I'd say, higher end properties where you're looking to give that luxury experience of having full Wi-Fi coverage both inside and outside the property.
So is that something that perhaps glamping places could use?
Yeah, so I mean, let's say you had a glamping or RV or some other kind of like less traditional experience where maybe you had a Starlink satellite Wi-Fi, which was placed outside, and you just wanted a device that could be kind of in a covered place or could be totally exposed. That can be placed anywhere and can be rained, snowed on, and it wouldn't be damaged at all. So if you have kind of a non-traditional setup, that's also going to be an access point you want to invest in.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for explaining that a little bit more. So why should owners choose your product over any of the other ones that are out there?
Yeah, I definitely think from a lot of other products in this Wi-Fi marketing space are not built for short-term rentals. So one of our big differentiators is we only work in the short-term rental industry. So all the tools and features, integrations are all oriented towards short-term rental operators, whether that's our owner res or guesty integration or other ones coming, as well as our own email and text marketing tool. All the things you see there are all built for companies in this space, while other tools might have some great features, but they're really built more for like a cafe or other type of location.
Sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Was there anything else that you thought of that you wanted to let people know about since we talked last?
Yeah, I would just say, since there is no monthly cost until you actually use a device, feel free to go to stayfi.com, create an account. You can create a splash page, you can play around, you can look at the email marketing tool. And then based on that, you can always make a decision to whether you want to order a device and actually use the product.
Now, is there an additional fee to use your email marketing tool, or is that included in that monthly fee?
Yeah, so there is an additional fee. It's priced at about 80% of what MailChimp would cost for the equivalent list. And you're actually getting basically our version of Campaign Monitor. So our system is built on Campaign Monitor, and you get a discounted Campaign Monitor account when you open it through StayFi. So you're getting like a full service email tool within StayFi that's priced competitively to be less than what most people use today, which is MailChimp.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have my access point. It's super easy to get it installed. That splash page is so easy to create. You guys have done a great job with that. So I just can't wait to get collecting all those email addresses from
Thank
people
you so
too.
much.
So yeah, thank you so much too.